Hey guys, this is Michael Caughran with ARC. I wanted to come out here and really get some time behind the gun together with Don and check out his course because I know that with his background, he's just one of the best people literally on planet Earth that could teach me the ways of the long range precision rifle. And his claim for a world-class course is absolutely par. It's amazing, from the facility, the lodging, even the food, and the discussion around the dinner table was just incredible. We can pick Don's brain on any aspect of long-range precision shooting, and he's already gone down that rabbit hole. So I really enjoyed my time. The company was amazing. The gear's amazing. I came with a long-range rifle that I thought maybe would be applicable for the course. It was not. It was totally not. But he had more than enough weapons already set up with the right scopes, the right bipods, the right tripods, the right ammunition, everything dialed in and exactly tuned so that all of us as shooters could have an extremely good time and a great training outcome. So I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the preparation. This is obviously not his first rodeo. Everything goes so smoothly. There's a logical progression. I enjoy that. And being able to ring steel effectively in these canyons, in this terrain, with the wind, all the conditions at extreme distances. We're talking past a grand. It's a phenomenal feeling. And there's nothing quite like ringing steel at those distances, and also knowing how to duplicate that. And so I think that's one of the masterpieces of this course with Don, is that now I can apply this to another system, build up a whole nother rifle, and I know what I need to check. I know what parameters I need to put into it to be able to gauge, so I can duplicate that same kind of consistent accuracy at range. Seeing the pictures, seeing the videos does not do this justice. Whenever you come and you have a first-hand experience, not only is it greater than we can display on camera, but also it's tailor-made for you. And Don is so into the nitty-gritty details, and he's so personable, and he watches over every little meticulous thing that you do, such that if your balance is off, your foot position, you're building a position and it's not quite supported exactly right, he knows how to correct those things. And without that expertise, a lot of people will be chasing their tail and not achieving their hits, and when they finally do, they don't know exactly how they did. So I highly recommend this for hunting and competition, or police and military snipers, all across the board. This is hands down an incredible course, and it's more than a bargain at the price. So come enjoy yourself and get a slot before it gets booked out. Anyway, highly recommend. Very good job. What brought you to this point? What gave you the inspiration for Fritz precision shooting?
Man, it really starts as a kid. I've always been happy if I'm flinging some baseball, an arrow, a recurve bow, and not a lot of energy in a kid's recurve bow. So I'd stick up this target on the barn door and shoot these cedar arrows at it. Mm-hmm. And started backing up and shooting farther, and there was just such a celebration in hitting where I was aiming. And then my dad was a Marine, and very accomplished shooter, expert marksman. I actually have his medals and stuff upstairs. Kind of cool. Teaches me how to shoot. Yeah. Pistols, rifles. Got my first rifle when I was 12. Just a 22 bolt action single shot. Back single shot. Give me a little box of 22, and I just go shoot stuff. Cans and what have you. And he showed me the right way to how to line up the sights and hold over, and so then I'd earn another box of 50 rounds and go out and shoot, and just loved hitting the target. And that progressed as I got older into shooting. Ultimately wound up joining the Air Force, had some time behind the gun. That was kind of cool, that exposure to a different genre of using a weapon system differently. But I think a lot of those disciplines translate into not just behind the firearm, but life of a structure of consistency and logging information, organization, making notes, being able to go back on them and know what you wrote down.
Right, yeah.
Sometimes in the moment you write it down and you're like, yeah. And you go back 2 days later to go to read it and like, I have no idea what the hell I was just trying to say. I'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Maybe in a different mindset. But those the mental side of it, the physical side of it, hitting something down range, keeping your information, and it was yours. So it was your data that worked. And I never want to be the guy to use for Fritz precision shooting my military career. And here's why. It was awesome. I did some really neat stuff. I met amazing people. I got to travel. But I got out a long time ago. And not that it makes it a moot point or anything, or that it's obsolete, but it was so long ago that I don't want to be that guy, because so much has changed, right? There are disciplines and foundations that remain the same. So I just don't want folks to think that, yeah, this guy did this in the military, and that's why he's got the right teachings. To digress from childhood to military to now, it was about 12 years ago that I got back into, I'd always been behind guns and shooting and such, but over in Western Washington, shooting far was a little more difficult.
Wow.
300-400 yards, you can get that, but there is a significant shift when you start going outside of 800.
Sure.
Trajectory changes, ballistic coefficients, those types of things. The intricacies of actually predicting bullet flight and sending a little projectile really far down range. It's been in the air a long time, and where's it going to hit?
Sure.
And why? So being a bit of a closet geek, I've always been really good with math and liked predicting where something was going to hit. Got into archery, been very successful hunting archery. And in fact, it's funny how I train long range shooting and I can hit a target just about every time at 1,000 yards in acceptable conditions, but I'd rather thump it with an arrow at 30 yards.
Yeah.
It's just, there's a primitive type cognizance to that. It's like, oh my gosh,
Sure.
I just dropped this 900-pound elk with a stick and a string. And it's rewarding, it's gratifying. It's a level of providing in a different atmosphere. Granted, I rifle hunt too, and a lot of people rifle hunt because it is easier.
Sure.
So the game changes because there's more people out there with rifles, so the encounters are fewer and farther between. But as long as I have the opportunity, not to sound cocky or anything, but I'm going to hit it.
Yeah.
But it still is fun.
Yeah.
It's still meat in the freezer again.
Yeah.
But I, being in canyon country and have a property out here, I really wanted to dive back into those roots of understanding my personal data of previous engagement and figure out different calibers. So I decided to build a rifle and resource, what chassis I wanted to put it on. I wanted this to be a long range system. I wanted this to be a heavy rifle, longer barrel, a good action, and a good optic. And I did that. So I built this 300 Win Mag and I started reloading and came up with my own load data that worked really well. So older chronograph, but speeds were really there, and started shooting and got my hands on some steel and started setting some steel up there in 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, now 1,000. And the funny thing is, back then, everyone wanted to shoot 1,000 yards. Dude, I want to shoot 1,000 yards. Cool. Me too. Let's do this. And it was his accomplishment. And it went from, walking it in to understanding what it would take to make a second, third, or fourth round impact. Mm-hmm. And that was so different from what everyone else had done. They're like, yeah, I went out shooting my buddy and he set this target up. It was like 860 yards, and we got it, man. I hit it.
25 rounds later.
Right? And it was like, oh, it's just 2 boxes, and there's 20 in a box, and we had a couple left. Hit it.
Yeah, sure.
Did that. It's like, well, can we narrow this down to acceptable accuracy? But what's it going to take to put that there with more predictability? And then all of a sudden, ballistic applications came out. Oh wow, there's a mathematical algorithm to tell me where to put this. So I translate some of mine into that, and oh man, inside of like 800 yards, it was like, so now I don't even put a target at 600 back then, because that's easy. So next thing you know, I'm rolling with this and showing another buddy, like, I want to shoot 1,000 yards. Okay, let's do it. And I put them behind the gun, and it's dialed, and I'm telling them, okay, we've got a little bit of wind, so hold, right about the target width. And they're like, oh my gosh, I hit it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They did hit it, and they executed the mechanics behind it, but they couldn't go out there with the same gun at a different target distance and do that themselves.
Sure.
So then it was like, what does it take to show someone how to do that? And started doing that. So I'd show a buddy how to do it. Now we go shoot. And then they were like, hey, can I bring my other buddy out? Yeah, sure. And they got another gun. So now we're figuring this out on a different caliber. Mm-hmm. We're making it happen. And we're making it happen not by walking it in by 2 boxes. We're doing this within just a few rounds. And when it came to wind, because out here in canyon country, you're pretty much always going to have wind. How much is the wind going to move? Well, I knew it with this cartridge. I knew if the wind was about this strong, I was going to hold about this much at this distance. Sure. I didn't have the mathematical calculation, but I knew it was more intuition of reading the wind. What's the vegetation doing? And when I look at mirage, I'm going to hold about this much. And I'd either get close or I'd make an impact. And it's like there's this mental snapshot of that celebration of validation hitting the target, and your mind goes, this is what was happening. So the next time in that scenario, I could duplicate that shot. So then it's like, another buddy comes over and is like, hey, my girlfriend wants to try and shoot a kick, instead of just being that guy and putting behind a gun and not talking to them about recoil and the scope themselves, then they'll never pick up a gun again. Sure. It was a classier experience. We'd go out and set up targets, take folders or side-by-sides out and go shoot for a day. But all of that was prone, laying on our bellies.
Which is really hard to replicate in the real world.
It is, because most of the time, depending on the time of year, actually, we started getting into May and June. Well, to go prone, we're out there with a weed trimmer and stuff, trying to get the grass and the stuff out of the way so that we can see the target. Yeah. Couldn't shoot in a different position. Mm-hmm. Eventually, showing other people, and they're like, dude, you should figure out how to do this for a living. Because, I've learned so much off of all of my experiences, mistakes, follies, wrong caliber. Sure. I was like, well, that'd be really cool. But how do you do that? What's the business model, right? What's the curriculum? So I was introduced to a guy about, 7.5 years ago, who teaches tier 1, tier 2 special ops guys, high angle, long range, and snipers. And I was like, wow, that's cool. So I talked to him, and he's like, come on out. And I did. And I spent one day there and was mind blown by what I saw, because they weren't just laying on their bellies. This was a tripod. It was an eye-opener. And then started to talk about applied ballistics and ballistic applications and why they work and what your wind hold's going to be. And now, instead of sticking this rifle over here, I put it here so I can line them with it for, we're managing dispersion, the recoil impulse. It's going to kick, but how do I manage that so that I can see everything happen and try to be a spotter? Mm-hmm. And that was more than an eye. Right. And I'm shooting this 300 Win Mag. This thing's kickable. But, sure, I can't spot all my own impacts. I try, but how do you do this? Mm-hmm. So now it's oh my gosh. So I'm doing this kneeling, standing, sitting, and hitting targets at different angles. Now we're talking about cosine and all these other algorithms and trigonometry. And I'm like, wow, I'm glad I like math. And then I realized it's actually not that hard. And then we started talking about G1 and G7 numbers, and that's the number that the bullet is assigned based on its efficiency, based off of its shape, its weight, how fast it's spinning, and they assign them these numbers. Well, these numbers actually translate to something really cool, and you're like, whoa! Yeah. So now my hold 6 feet, because the wind's going 15 miles an hour, is actually, well, I've got this G1 number, wind's coming in this direction, I can do the math real quick, and now I can hold that much and hit the target. Which was a huge eye-opener for me, because I had always just forgotten about the G1 and just went with G7 stuff. So I had no idea what that meant for when we're shooting and how much easier it made it. It was great. Yeah. So then one day, I talked to my wife, and it's like, check this out. So I go out there. These dudes go out there. They stay there. They bring their guns. They're shooting ammunition from all the same lot number, which meant something. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize how much it meant. And if they don't have the right system, it's there. And they go out and they learn this. And on this day, this is what they do. On this day, this is what they do. On this day, this is what they do. And it's really additional exposure each day, but doing the same process, the shooter checklist. So as long as I follow these fundamentals, then I should be able to hit the target down range. So then geeking out on the math and understanding wow, I can't just plug these numbers in from the manufacturer. It's different out of every gun. So how do I do this? And just following other folks and looking at what they've done and their theories and, description, operation of things and how they came up with it, and realized a simpler way to do this. So as I refine these processes and put this together we have the right facility for this. We've got a beautiful home on a mountaintop, amazing view. Yeah. We've got 4 additional bedrooms. We could actually do something where people get to stay here. We'll feed them, and we'll go over a curriculum that I developed And of course, over time, start out with getting a couple buddies and friends or one of their friends out here and go, you're going to come out for a weekend and I'm going to teach you to shoot. We're going to see how the timeline goes and see what we need to tweak along the way. And at first it was like, well, I need to add more of this to it. And then I take this away. We don't need to really talk so much about this, and making tweaks and changes along the way. And here we are. I think I told you earlier, if someone told you, hey, got a great business opportunity. You're going to spend a lot of money and a lot of time. It's probably going to take about 4 years before it ever even takes off. Are you interested? Probably not.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, I understand.
But finally, with the traction, the type of people who've come through here, building a curriculum that is malleable enough to cater to any experience level. Mm-hmm. From someone who's like, hey, I've shot a gun before, I've been behind a scope, a buddy of mine does this PRS shooting, or I saw it on social media, or watching the show, and I think I want to do it. We can go from there and cover the fundamentals. And either way, we're covering the fundamentals, because fundamentals are everything. Fundamentals, some people think, well, fundamentals are good. Well, no, your fundamentals are everything.
Right.
You can't skip a fundamental and expect you're going to make an impact in range. It's executing those fundamentals under different conditions, executing those in a different position, and understanding if you aren't aware of that anomaly, if you will, you can't answer why you missed.
Right. Exactly.
And the goal is to hit the target. It's really that simple. I want to hit the target at this distance, this one, and this one. What does it take to do that? So boiling the things down in a manner that are easy to digest and present it in a way that I call it the frog in the kettle sim. Throw a frog in boiling water, it's going to jump out. Turn the heat up slowly, it's going to die in there. Kind of the same thing is like, I'm going to give you this, give you this, give you this. It's a lot. And then we're going to go to the range and we're going to go through this, talk about each step. And once you grasp this, we're going to move to this step. And so far, it has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
It has really worked.
I just think it's neat that you can teach to that beginner shooter, for that person that wants to reach out distance but hasn't had the experience around it, all the way from the local guy that just has a terrible long range setup, but he doesn't know that yet. Doesn't have the skills, doesn't know the fundamentals, all the way to accomplished shooters and people, even now your friend, Chris Costa.
Yeah.
That
Chris
loves
is awesome
coming out here and has been taught by other world-renowned snipers and instructors in the long-range community. And he keeps coming back here, and he keeps referring people to this training because he's like, wow, the way you explained that now registered what other people talked about, but they didn't say it the same way. They didn't demonstrate it the same way. And so I think that's a great testament too, to how you can speak to all levels.
Yeah, Chris was awesome. He's sitting here, we're walking through his stuff, and he's like, hold on a second. So you're telling me my G1 number is going to be what I'm going to look for. So it's that easy. I thought it was like this, I don't know, wizardry or something on how you're going to, what's your hole going to be at this distance?
Honestly, I did too. Yeah. I was looking for all the different answers in the wrong places.
And regardless of what someone else in the industry may say or their process for it, and they can say, well, it's actually not really. It's like, we tried to prove it wrong the past 2 days.
Yeah.
And it works.
Just works. Which is great.
It does.
Because it makes it easy. When you make it easy, it's more easily accomplishable. You get that validation.
Yeah. Everyone not out there, calculators and pads and no, we're just straight up, I'm seeing this wind, I've got a 5 mile gun, I'm going to hold this much. Oh, look, you had it.
Oh, yeah. And that was so cool to be able to, for me, having not shot 10 plus years at range and hitting something at 1,400 yards on the first shot. After 2 days of rushing, I was like, okay.
1409 to be exact.
Yeah, 1409. So, right there. And there's a lot that goes into that, a lot of details, a lot of things that, even though I was familiar with stuff, there was a lot of new things. And so I really appreciate that you've gone to all the trouble to make your own booklet that's constantly going under revision, because now I can take that home and, failing some memory, I can just look up that page, because you've had tens of thousands of rounds shot by students, and you see consistencies.
So there are things that you see.
Yeah.
It's just like getting behind someone and I'll just watch the end of that muzzle, and I can just barely see a little left to right, and come up and say, "Here, stick this underneath here. Do this. That'll stop the left-right wobble." And they look at you like,
Right.
"How did I know I had left-right wobble?"
Yeah.
Well, that position is inherently going to do that.
Yeah.
So here's how you can fix that.
Yeah.
And once they fix it and make that impact, the next time they get in that position, they know exactly what to send it.
There was problems I had with my fundamentals that I appreciated. Whenever you saw the bullet impact, you're like, oh, you need to probably do this. And as soon as I fixed that, then bang, hit that target. And then I knew why and how to fix it next time. So that was really, really helpful, because you can write your own curriculum, because you can carry out all these things, go down each rabbit hole as far as you need to. It's not a stagnant class. It's not something where you're just going off the rote curriculum and you need to check each box, but you can pertain it to each individual shooter and help them go as far. Like, we went further as a class because we were on point, hearing what you're saying, applying it as soon as we could. And so there was very limited cleanup for you.
I originally told my wife, I said, I want to provide a world-class training experience. I want this to be half of it the shooting and the experience, and the other half the experience.
Yeah, exactly.
On the camaraderie. It's not just fly in somewhere, stay at a hotel, drive to the range, spend time with the dude, go back the next morning. You know, we're here, we're eating together.
It's relational. It's
Yeah.
fun.
People relax, and now the person who probably wouldn't have asked that question now feels comfortable to say, hold on, dude, questions.
Yeah.
What did you mean? How does this apply? And now they're engaged.
It was a really low stress. There wasn't any stress induced in the shooting. It was all relaxed, as far as we could with the time that we had and the skills that we presented.
Like I said, you're not going to muscle your way into an impact.
Right.
You have to relax in that shot. And when you do relax, and I said it several times to the other guys, relax in that shot, and went from a miss to an impact.
True.
The systems we have set up here are purpose-driven. They're spendy, but it's all the right gear to execute those fundamentals successfully. You know, like I said, my course objective is for everyone to be able to successfully execute the fundamentals of long-range shooting. And then the other half is understand the basic principles of projectiles, ballistic behavior. You can own the first part, but if you don't understand the second part, you can't answer why you missed, and you can't fix it.
Yeah.
You'll probably walk them in, be a decent shooter, but once you understand that second part of it, and those two connect, pretty darn good shooter.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I love it. I mean, it doesn't matter how many thousands and thousands of times that I've done it, and when I solve that problem fast and get behind the gun, rest up, build it, send it, see it, crush it. It's just as giddy as it was 10 years ago. And it's fun, you know, that discovery moment when you see it in someone's face and like, this is cool.
Oh yeah, I had that.
This is cool, man.
I loved it.
Because I just did that.
Yeah.
You know, you showed me and then I did it and I did it.
Right.
And then we go back day 2 and it's like, and you could do it again.
I just think it's neat that like all these things, they compile into that world-class training center that you wanted to create. Is truly world-class. And having gone through it, I can say like, yeah, absolutely, from the lodging, the experience, the camaraderie, the equipment, everything, the training, the lessons learned, top notch. I've got to so many different, military training schools from so many different instructors, and I dig it. It's good.
I so appreciate it.
I really do. It's awesome.